Good evening. My first attempt in the evening to make a video. I'd like to just put in an anecdotal story tonight after this whole talk that we've done on baptism, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Many years ago, in the early days when we were here, probably late 80s, early 90s, we had about 10 people that were planning to be baptized. And, you know, they had really come to the realization of where they were, their interest in following Jesus, following his life, teachings. Obviously, they'd come to know him in a personal way. And they, of course, had all been sprinkled as babies and had done the study necessary to say, hey, I want to move forward. I want to take a public stand of my belief in Jesus. And so we gathered them, and because we were meeting in a school at that time, we had no really reservoir or kind of tank or baptistry is often what we call it. We didn't have one where we could, in fact, hold a baptismal service. And so we rented the church, or a church of a different Christian group here in Quebec. And they said, look, our tank is fairly large and our water heater is quite small. So what we'll do so that you can get relatively warm water is, as we leave the church about noon on Sunday, we will turn on the water to, just before leaving the church, we'll turn on the water, fill the tank to halfway, and then turn it off, because that will empty the hot water heater. This was in February, this particular baptismal service, so the water coming out of the cold water tap in Quebec is frigid, okay? And so then they said, then when you come at 2, you'll have time to, again, turn on the water, and you'll get warm water, because now the hot water heater has heated up and is full. And that water then will finish off the filling of the baptistry. Fine, everything sounds perfect. The best laid plans of mice and men. So what happens? We show up about 2 in the afternoon with the key, open the doors of the church building, and we find water is everywhere. There's water coming down the steps from the front platform into the aisle of the worship center or the sanctuary, and it's about an inch deep, and it's just flowing everywhere. Well, we discover that, in fact, yes, they turned the water on. They left the church building, forgotten to turn it off. This particular tank, if you can believe it, had absolutely no overflow valve, and so the water was just pouring out into the church, pouring in the basement. It was cascading down from the first floor into the basement. Well, we shut off all the electricity. We're saying, what are we going to do? And we shut off all the electricity. Didn't want some circuit, the circuits being blown or whatever. Well, it just so happened that one person who was coming to witness this baptism, her father worked for a company that cleaned up after fires, floods, all these things. So she gets on the phone and calls her father, and he shows up with all the equipment. We man all the mops we can man, all the buckets. It's just everybody on deck, all hands on deck to clean this up. And then we decide we're going ahead. People then stand up one by one, give a short talk, or what we call a testimony on where they've been, how they've come to accept Christ, why they're stepping out to be baptized. And then the poor people, we bring them into the tank, And again, we're not sprinkling, we're immersing them. So one person comes in and pushed under the water. The water is freezing. The people are almost crying out in pain. I mean, sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but 20 years after the fact, it's funny. So everybody goes through the ordeal of being baptized in this frigid water. I mean, we could have gone to one of the rivers in Quebec, chopped a hole in the ice or one of the lakes, dunked them, brought them out. It wouldn't have been a whole lot warmer. Well, people survived, and needless to say, it was quite a memory. We hung around and we had some food after, and you know, people warmed up, and it was so meaningful. And as I look back, there have been other times like that, whether it be a baptism in a swimming pool. We did quite a few. We did baptisms in lakes, actually many in swimming pools. And each one has been unique, and each one has had its element of surprise. We can never know what will happen when there's a baptismal service that's by immersion. And but we're thankful for that, and I just wanted to share that anecdote after spending a bit of time on some of the more theological differences between the sprinkling versus immersion, etc. I thought you might enjoy that.